Z with MarketWizards.com and eMiniWizard.com. And a reminder that trading is risky proposition. Use risk capital that you can afford to lose or don't trade. And we suggest get an education first before you throw away your hard-earned money. Taking a look at the overnight range. We had said yesterday, let's use this paid for sure idea by 28.18 to 28.1875. And no one knows when an egregious move like that comes along and then when it's going to stop. But that was an idea that we had, and we'll show why. And overnight, we get a small pullback relative to that range. So I think for now, we're going to try to use this 98 idea as support. Just bracket the 2800. Anybody that buys today, even yesterday, we said weekends if you're buying with this kind of a push, but we do know that it was following some trend lines, and until they get broken, that's all you can do. So for now, I had advised anybody that tries to buy the 98 support, and if you're buying in that 02 to 98 region, make sure you're paid by 08. Okay, and the idea of that was coming back into the pipe and assume that get some profit taking first. So that was the pre-market suggestion, and obviously that was a convenient trade because most of us slept through this. At least I did, and as such, you'd love to catch that trade, but if you're sleeping, what can you do? So you take the convenient trade and say, maybe the wind is still blowing, MATD, morning after trend day. Thank you, Don Miller. And see if there's anything left in that. So that was one of the reasons for that call. Another idea I tried to marry with that was the 30-minute chart. And I could see, first of all, you've got to get above the red and green lines. And that was part of the idea of making sure you think small on this bounce, especially after yesterday. But it was the first time back into the blue line after this egregious push. The last time was way back here in the 2740 area, 44s. So obviously that's big support till broken, and then we come up. We're going to look step by step. So I think this is our first key support for now, right in here. This 95 to 90 and a quarter area, very important. And after a day like yesterday, anything goes, but I usually do not think about a plunge. I will think about perhaps some backing and filling possible, as traders may want to take off some profits ahead of news today. But that being said, I'm still not looking for a plunge ahead of news. We just want to be prepared for it later when it comes. Okay, here was the corrective move so far. We know that this spike right up here, just above us, 24 region, that area is still resistance until broken. And of course, that's the next objective for the longs, try to get that and knock that out and get above here into this range. So for now, step by step, we know that we've come a long way from this support down here. And then this box became support. And then this box became support. And now this box down here, 2732, where we were yesterday, a day ago, that's support. Until broken, obviously. So now we're looking at this as our fighting box. 75 as support, till broken. Remember that 74 area yesterday where I said, this is a very important area, the 73.5, 75 area, a very important area. So it turned out that held, and that was it. That was the RTH low. So that is support until broken. And then up here, there are other targets available, and if you look at gap charts, you'll see them too. But for now, ahead of news, I think we need to just use this law of perspective and say, okay, this 20 to 22 area, even 25 if you want to call it, resistance zone, and backing and filling, and how far, nobody knows. Just like when we suggested you make sure you take profits, I think this is the low. Nobody knows at that point we're going to run this far. I mean, come on, nobody has any clue that's going to run that far. All we know is that looked like support at the time, and then we obviously broke this trend line, and we've been bouncing ever since. So today we'll clarify things a little more, but there's always going to be confusion in the market. That's what makes markets. All right, so this is the corrective move, and I'm suggesting first things first, you have to get back under this neighborhood right where we are here first before anything else is going to happen. Okay, because we took that out. So previous resistance is now temporarily support until proven otherwise. Okay, we're looking at the weekly chart now, and we can see where we had support. Earlier, we had suggested that 12 area, be very careful about shorting in that zone. We had that 06 as a support, and that thing has taken off and really, popped yesterday. Until then, we were just marginally above, obviously, last week's high, but then yesterday, put an exclamation point on it. So step by step, if that holds for now, then we know already step one, you got to get back to the 5 area, and step 2 is back here in that 92. So that's the basis of the 92 to 90 is our theoretical support right now, based on this proportion. And this is a look at the monthlies, and we can see just how far we have come in this push, and we've come to the top of the pipe based on this. And I've got this set at the 44s, but we know this is a hair off based on the high at 47, so a couple of points off. But this was another good clue for this 16 to 18 area. Make sure you are paid because you're running into the top of the pipe on that basis. So I'm thinking today possibility that we get some distribution even on bounces today, thinking that with the news later, people are going to want to flatten out ahead of that. So morning after trend day, if you buy, drop it if they don't work. And for those of you who take an aggressive buy today, remember weak hands today. So this puts this into perspective pretty nicely. And this is our yearly chart. And basis this, I've got that 42.5 as the top of this box, and I've got 90.25 as the bottom. So we're going to look at this box, obviously, as the fighting box right now on a yearly basis. So we can see this double down in here at 26, very powerful bounce, over a 200-point bounce. So all of these bars, daily bars, white, white, doji, white, white, there's not a lot of support built up. We can get a pretty good size push if and when we go back, but I would think it would have to be a news event to do that. And we shall see what happens with today's news later. So that's the area, and that's why I'm suggesting that 90 to 92 is supportive for now until broken. We'll be opening shortly. Those of you who are conservative, if you want to sit on the sidelines a few minutes, up to you. Typically, a half gap trade would be an idea, but we've got gaps all over the place. This is the predictive model, and based on that information, this 73.5 is our pivot. So that's our big support for now until broken. And step by step, the next levels up. I want to remind you this 28.12.5, very important level. In our methodology, that's significant. We are open. Anybody that is buying today for the half gap and for the gap, a reminder. Morning after trend day does not have to take out the high. I'll be very surprised if we do take out today's high, especially ahead of news. So be conservative with your expectations for the long side, especially after yesterday. I think we've stole some of today's range. And I wouldn't put it past them, do a little shake and bake too, which would be to knock out the lows and then bounce. So be very conservative first thing. And those of you who had a great day yesterday, do nothing. You don't have to do everything every minute of every day. If you got this right yesterday, fantastic. You don't have to do anything today. Wait and be choosy about your trades. So basis this, idea on this level, we've got to break these O2s before you can come back in and get below this. And on this scale, obviously the support box is back here at the 92, 93 area. Half gap traders, use a 2 or maximum 3-point stop if you're trying for it. And I think we'll have a little bit of chop first thing. Remember that 5-minute chart we talked about? Let's take a look at that. And these are 5 that I had suggested that if you'll notice the O2s, they're going to be somewhere around this blue line. And that's the first time back on this chart. You could see that. Actually, I adjusted this yesterday to a 4-minute chart because it was following a 4. And then I'll put it back today to where it belongs at the 5. And when I can see visible evidence that just by making that one little adjustment, okay, that thing that's working off of this, then that's the chart that I'll leave on while it's working. You can see stays above red and green. We get down here, and this is the add-in spot for those traders who like that idea. We said make sure you paid in there, and then all of a sudden that thing takes off the next leg. And in this area up here, I had said yesterday, make sure you paid coming into that 08 target that we had. And above that, obviously, we can go any high. And so as Zeke put earlier today, it looked like this was just panic, covering by the shorts at that point. So slope is very important. You've got to get below the blue line to have any hope of a pullback. And sometimes you'll go marginally under it and still bounce right back over it. And that's typically what we may be able to expect today, over and under, because I'm assuming we're going to do some consolidation, and some backing and filling is probably desirable as traders take some profits. But I'm not calling for a plunge ahead of the news later. I just don't think we'll get that. And I've been wrong before. Come on, we're all wrong. Baseball players wrong often, guessing the pitch and the speed and the tempo. Context is everything. How many outs do you have? And, what are you trying to do? Get the ball in play? You're trying to, nail one? And for most of us, my suggestion, hit and run type trading. It's just an easier way to play the game, I think. So those of you who are conservative, stay sidelines for a few minutes, let the smoke clear. Those of you who want to take a trade, we said we're going to use that 98 as support for now, trying to get a little traction in the morning after trend day. And sometimes we'll get afternoon after trend day, where it takes time. Today, that's probably more true because of the news. We'll definitely get some more energy later on. But this fits the pattern of FOMC, where almost always you're going to get a run into FOMC. Fed up, I call it. Right? It just happens. It's still beginning of the month bias. The surprise really was how powerful yesterday was. Not that we moved up, but how powerful. So I think today we need to be conservative with our expectations, both directions, unfortunately. And for now, we're just going to put a level or two on that we can keep an eye on. This was that lunch low idea in here. So that's support really until broken, and we're trading the afternoon session really. And here's our angels and demons. So let's say this 12 area, 12 and a half, that's our key resistance for now, just because it's a big pivot. So I'm going to assume that this is a resistance target for now, and that's the range that we're playing. It certainly broke it yesterday, but you got to stay above it. And that's a huge pivot in our system. So I've got 375 as our angel, and I've got 15.5 as our demon. 30-minute chart, we'd said, got to break down that blue line. Keep an eye on NQ, see what that's doing today. Looks like that has come back a bit already. And that's hovering near its yearly middle. So basis this chart, that 70 area, going to be a key area. So I'm going to keep my eye on NQ as a potential canary in the coal mine. And for conservative traders who think that we might get shake and bake, if you try a short, don't forget you're shorting the lows of overnight range. So be very careful about thinking plunge from here. Better opportunities might be if we get a little bit of bounce if you want to short. And shorting yesterday, got a lot of dead bodies out there. So it's going to be very hard to get a lot south side ahead of news. So typically half gap trade to gap trades are what we like to see.